In 2005, in a converted studio on the outskirts of Brussels, a 37-year-old woman stands beside a neon sculpture she made with her own hands. The words glow in electric blue against the white wall. They read, "Fuck you, I exist." She has just appeared on French television and said the name of her father out loud for the first time. She said it was Albert. She said he was the king of the Belgians. The palace has not responded. It will not respond for years. Her name at this point is Delphine Bowl. She is a multimedia artist, paintings, sculpture, neon installations, who exhibited at the Venice Biennale 2 years earlier and whose work sells in galleries from Miami to Stockholm. She is also, by her own account, the biological daughter of the reigning monarch of Belgium, then conceived during an 18-year affair between Prince Albert and Baroness Sibylle de Sailly-Longchamp. Born on the 22nd of February 1968 in the wealthy Brussels municipality of Uccle, and registered at birth as the child of a steel magnate named Jacques Boel. She knew Albert only as Papillon, butterfly, until she was 8 years old. He visited every day, then he stopped. She learned the truth from her mother at 17. When she called him at 33, he said 7 words. "Never call me again, you are not my daughter." The anorexia nearly killed her. She has said that her art became her voice because she could not speak. The sculpture in the studio, the one with the 4-word title, is not a statement about royalty. It is a statement about existence. Was about the right to be acknowledged by the person who made you. The Belgian royal family at this moment does not acknowledge her. She will take a DNA test, a 7-year court battle, a daily fine of €5,000, and a king's abdication before a Brussels appeals court grants her the title Princess Delphine of Belgium on the 1st of October 2020. But Delphine is not the first. She is the third. The Belgian dynasty, the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha's Belgian branch, has ruled since 1831, when the newly independent nation went looking for a king and found a 40-year-old German prince named Leopold of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. He had nearly become Prince Consort of Britain. His first wife, Princess Charlotte, heir to the British throne, died in childbirth in 1817. He took the constitutional oath on the 21st of July, 1831, a date Belgium still celebrates as its national day. He was Queen Victoria's maternal uncle. He later arranged Victoria's marriage to his nephew, Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, making the family the connective tissue of 19th century European royalty. 7 kings have reigned since. Leopold I from 1831 to 1865, Leopold II from 1865 to 1909, Albert I from 1909 to 1934, Leopold III from 1934 to 1951, Baudouin I from 1951 to 1993, Albert II from 1993 to 2013, and the current king, Philippe, who took the oath on the 21st of July 2013 and reigns today at 65. The dynasty's name was quietly changed to de Belgique in 1920 to shed its Germanic associations after the First World War. The Saxe-Coburg arms were restored to the royal coat only in 2019. 195 years, 7 monarchs. And in every generation, children the dynasty tried to make disappear. Leopold II fathered 2 sons with a teenage courtesan and married her on his deathbed in a ceremony the law refused to recognise. Leopold III married during the German occupation and produced 3 children, the constitution confined to a title without a function, one of whom now lives in a wooden chalet on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington state, and estranged from every relative she has. Albert II maintained an 18-year parallel family and denied his daughter's existence until a court imposed daily fines that forced a DNA test. 3 branches, 3 eras, the same reflex, The crown produces the child, then the crown erases the child. What follows is what happened to each of them. Leopold II ruled Belgium for 44 years, the longest reign of any Belgian monarch, and he was the second king of a country that had existed for only 34 years when he took the throne. He inherited a small, constitutionally limited monarchy and spent his reign trying to make it imperial. In 1876, he convened the Brussels Geographic Conference and presented himself as a humanitarian seeking to civilize Central Africa. By 1885, at the Conference of Berlin, the European powers recognized his personal sovereignty over the Congo Free State, not Belgium's sovereignty, his. An area of roughly 2 million square kilometres, 76 times the size of Belgium, became the private property of one man. It was exploited first for ivory, then for wild rubber during the global tyre boom of the 1890s, when the invention of the pneumatic tyre created insatiable demand. His private army, the Force Publique, numbered approximately 19,000 men by the turn of the century. They enforced production quotas with hostage-taking, the burning of villages, mass amputations of hands, severed as proof that bullets had not been wasted, and systematic murder. Death toll estimates range from 1 million to 15 million. So with Adam Hochschild's widely cited figure of 10 million based on an estimated halving of the Congolese population during Leopold's 23-year rule. The British consul Roger Casement's 1904 report to Parliament documented the atrocities in precise detail, and the international outcry forced Leopold to transfer the colony to the Belgian state in 1908. Before the transfer, Leopold burned the entire Congo archive. Furnaces at the royal palace ran for days. He told an aide, "They have no right to know what I did there." He had already spent decades laundering his Congo profits into European real estate, chateaux, parks, greenhouses, an entire urban development plan for Ostend, villas along the French Riviera that he bought under shell companies. His personal fortune at death was estimated at the equivalent of over $1 billion in modern currency. His funeral procession through Brussels on the 22nd of December 1909 was booed by the crowd. Some onlookers spat at the coffin. That fortune, and who received it, is where the first controversial branch begins. In 1900, the 65-year-old king met Blanche Delacroix, a 16-year-old girl born in Bucharest on the 13th of May, 1883, the 13th child of a bankrupt French engineer. She was the companion of a disgraced army officer named Antoine Emmanuel Durieux, who introduced her to wealthy clients. A female intermediary approached her with the offer, "Madame, I am sent to you by a gentleman who has noticed you, and he has a very high personality." At their first meeting, she was so nervous she called him His Majesty Oscar, confusing Belgium with Sweden. Leopold was charmed. The next day, a large sum of money and empty trunks arrived at her door. What followed was a 9-year relationship that damaged Leopold's reputation as thoroughly as the Congo atrocities had. He installed her under the name Caroline Lacroix in a villa across the road from his Lecken palace and built a pedestrian footbridge over the street so he could visit without being seen. In the coastal city of Ostend, he constructed a tunnel between their adjacent villas. She called him très vieux, very old. He called her très belle, very beautiful. The Belgian press gave her a different name entirely, La Reine du Congo, the Queen of the Congo. Her carriage was stoned in the streets of Brussels. She secretly continued seeing Durieux throughout the affair, installing electric bells in all her residences so servants could warn her when the king approached. On the 9th of February 1906, at the Villa Les Cèdres in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat on the French Riviera, Caroline gave birth to a son. He was registered at the local town hall as Lucien Philippe Marie-Antoine Delacroix, son of Caroline Blanche, woman of independent means, aged 23. The space for his father's name read, unknown. Leopold bestowed the courtesy title Duke of Tervuren and created Caroline Baroness de Vaughan. Neither title was ever published in a royal decree. Both were legally meaningless. On the 16th of October 1907, a second son arrived, Philippe Henri Marie-François, and given the courtesy title Count of Ravenstein. Philippa was born with an atrophied left hand, a trait the Saxe-Coburgs shared with other royal houses, similar to Kaiser Wilhelm II's shortened arm. When a newspaper had mocked that, at 72 one can still build empires but no longer make children, this birth defect actually convinced Leopold the boy was his. A political cartoon depicted the king holding the infant, surrounded by Congolese corpses with severed hands. The caption read, "Vengeance from on high." Young Philippe died of illness on the 21st of August 1914 at the family apartment on the Champs-Élysées. He was 6 years old. Leopold was desperate to legitimize his surviving son. And on the 12th of December 1909, 5 days before his death, he married Caroline in a religious ceremony in the Pavilion of Palms at the Château de Laeken, performed by his personal chaplain. Belgian law since 1870 had required a civil ceremony as the sole binding form of marriage. The religious ceremony was legally invalid. The Vatican recognized the marriage. Belgium did not. Leopold died on the 17th of December 1909 from an intestinal embolism. He was 74. His 3 legitimate daughters, Princesses Louise, Stephanie and Clementine, were barred from his room. His last words, addressed to his aide Baron Auguste Goffinet, concern the woman in the next room. "I present you my widow. So might I place her under your protection during the few days she'll spend in Belgium after my death?" The inheritance battle was ferocious. Leopold had hidden wealth abroad in shell companies in Germany and France. In Congo, securities transferred to Caroline in a $10 million trust fund placed in the names of Caroline and the 2 boys. He had also created the Royal Donation between 1900 and 1903, transferring vast tracts of land and dozens of properties to the Belgian state with the condition that they could never be sold, partly to prevent his legitimate daughters' foreign husbands from inheriting Belgian soil. Caroline, with help from Durieux and loyal servants, spirited away the majority of movable wealth to Paris before authorities could seize it. She married Durieux on the 18th of August 1910. He adopted both sons. They divorced in 1913 and she settled roughly 1 million francs on him. The Belgian government recovered the $10 million trust. Leopold's 3 legitimate daughters received slightly more than 5 million francs each in a settlement concluded in January 1914. Caroline retained approximately $7 million from a $65 million estate, mostly in Congo securities she had hidden before the will was contested. The Royal Donation endures today. It encompasses over 7,500 hectares of land and 77 buildings, valued at a minimum of €231.4 million, a figure first disclosed publicly in 2022. The properties include the Park of Laeken, the Royal Greenhouses, the Château Belvédère, Ciernion Castle in the Ardennes, and the Arboretum in Tervuren. Lucien, the surviving son, lived the rest of his life under the name Monsieur Durieux. He married Lucie Gracieuse Mundoutet in Paris on the 1st of March 1927. They had no children. He worked as a hotelier in the Basque country and sold dental equipment. He received modest financial assistance from the Belgian royal family. Prince Charles sent his mother 3,000 Belgian francs per month, and Lucien himself received 25,000 francs from the Belgian consul in Bayonne in 1936, sent on behalf of King Albert I. In his late 70s, when most historians had long assumed both of Leopold's illegitimate sons were dead, Lucien was still alive, living in southwestern France in a home described by a visiting journalist as a royal museum. Portraits of Leopold II hung on every wall. He bore a striking physical resemblance to the old king, the same skull shape, the same aquiline nose, but refused to grow a beard and refused to be photographed. He died on the 15th of November 1984 in Cambo-les-Bains, in the French Basque Country. He was 78 years old. No member of the Belgian royal family attended the funeral. His mother Caroline had died on the 12th of February 1948 of diabetes complications at Lucien's home. She was 64. She was buried at Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris alongside young Philippe. Lucien's wife Lucy outlived him by 21 years, dying on the 8th of February 2005 at approximately 104 years of age. With Lucien's death, the entire Leopold II illegitimate line through Blanche de la Croix was extinguished. No descendants, no heirs, no mourners from the family that made them. The dynasty's first controversial branch ended exactly as the dynasty intended, in complete erasure. I'm curious, of all the royal families that tried to erase their own children, the Romanovs, the Windsors, the Bourbons, which do you think succeeded most completely? Tell me in the comments. The dynasty's second controversy arrived one generation later, and this time it nearly destroyed the country. Leopold III had married the beloved Princess Astrid of Sweden in 1926. On the 29th of August, 1935, now Leopold was driving their open-top car along a winding road near Küsnacht am Rigi in Switzerland. Astrid pointed at something. A map, a passing view, accounts differ. Leopold turned to look. He lost control of the car. It left the road and struck a pear tree. Astrid was thrown from the vehicle and killed instantly. She was 29 years old. Belgium mourned her as a saint. Hundreds of thousands filed past her coffin. Leopold was left with 3 children under the age of 9, the future King Baudouin among them, and a wound the country never allowed him to cauterize. Then came the war. Germany invaded Belgium on the 10th of May, 1940. Leopold assumed personal command of the Belgian army. On the 28th of May, after 18 days of fighting, he surrendered to the Germans, without consulting his government, which had already fled to London. French Prime Minister Paul Reynaud denounced him as a roi félon, a criminal king. Leopold became a prisoner in his own palace at Laeken. On the 19th of November 1940, he met Adolf Hitler at Berchtesgaden, seeking the release of Belgian prisoners of war. Hitler refused. Leopold refused to collaborate further, and a German military government was imposed instead. In 1941, at the invitation of Leopold's mother, Queen Elizabeth, who reportedly wanted to distract him from a previous Austrian mistress, a young woman named Mary Lillian Bales began visiting Laeken. She was born on the 28th of November 1916 in London's Highbury neighbourhood, the daughter of Henry Bales, governor of West Flanders and a prominent political figure. She was upper bourgeois, but not nobility. She was 25. Leopold was 39. Their secret religious wedding took place on the 11th of September 1941 in the chapel of Laeken Castle, with Queen Elizabeth and Cardinal Van Roey present. When Lillian became pregnant, a civil ceremony followed on the 6th of December 1941. The next day, Cardinal Van Roey read an open letter in every Catholic church in Belgium announcing the marriage. Adolf Hitler reportedly sent flowers. The public reaction was devastating. A newspaper captured it in a single sentence. "Sire, we thought you had your face turned towards us in mourning. Instead, you had it hidden in the shoulder of a woman." Lillian Bales was branded a social climber. In the wartime marriage to a king supposedly sharing his people's suffering in captivity was seen as a betrayal of Astrid's memory that could not be forgiven. After the liberation in 1945, Leopold could not return to Brussels. His brother, Prince Charles, served as regent, while Leopold and Lillian lived in exile at Preny-Chambézy near Geneva. On the 12th of March 1950, Belgium held its first ever referendum on a single question. Should King Leopold III resume his constitutional powers? The national result was 57.68% in favour. But the regional split was explosive. Flanders voted 72% yes. Wallonia voted 58%. Brussels voted 52% no. The country fractured along its eternal linguistic fault line. The Leopold returned to Brussels on the 22nd of July, 1950. Widespread protests and a general strike paralysed the industrial South. On the 30th of July, police opened fire on demonstrators at Grasse-Berleur near Liège. 4 workers were killed. Socialists threatened to declare Walloon independence and organised a mass march on Brussels. On the 1st of August 1950, Leopold announced his intention to abdicate in favour of his eldest son. On the 11th of August, his 19-year-old son, Baudouin, took the constitutional oath as Prince Royal. During the ceremony in Parliament, the communist deputy, Julien Lahaut, stood up and shouted, "Vive la République!" 1 week later, on the 18th of August, 2 gunmen arrived at Lahaut's home in Serang and shot him dead on his doorstep. And the assassination remained officially unsolved for decades. Leopold formally abdicated on the 16th of July, 1951. Leopold and Lilian had 3 children, all titled Prince or Princess of Belgium with the style Royal Highness, all excluded from the line of succession by agreement at the time of the marriage. Their fates diverged in ways no agreement could have predicted. Prince Alexandre was born on the 18th of July 1942 at the Palace of Laeken. He suffered from serious congenital heart problems, undergoing life-saving surgery in the United States in 1957. An experience that inspired his mother Lilian to found a cardiology research foundation. He studied medicine briefly, then moved into trade. He never received official royal responsibilities. His wife later said, "He waited to assume some official responsibilities. They never came." He secretly married Leah Wollman, a twice-divorced woman, on the 14th of March 1991 in the village of Debenham in Suffolk, England. He hid the marriage for 7 years, until 1998, out of fear of his mother's disapproval. They had no children. Alexandre eventually reconciled with the main royal line and appeared at family events in his final years. He died on the 29th of November 2009 of a pulmonary embolism. He was 67 years old. He was buried at the Church of Our Lady of Laeken, alongside the dynasty's kings. Princess Marie-Christine was born on the 6th of February 1951 at the Palace of Laeken. At 17, she was raped by an elderly relative. Her mother Lilian allegedly called her a liar and locked her in her room for 2 months. She fled Belgium and never returned. Her first marriage, to Paul Drucker on the 23rd of May 1981 in Coral Gables, Florida, lasted 40 days. She later wrote that Drucker was a gay man who was still in the closet. King Baudouin quietly paid for the annulment. She worked as a telephone operator at TV Ontario. She worked as an actress in Los Angeles under the stage name Daphne. Her second marriage, to French restaurateur Jean-Paul Gourgue on the 28th of September 1989 in Westwood, California, with the actor James Coburn as best man, endured but brought financial ruin. Gourgues had a gambling addiction that consumed her entire inheritance. She has no children. She has not set foot in Belgium for over 40 years. She refused to attend the funeral of her father Leopold in 1983. She refused to attend the funeral of her half-brother Baudouin in 1993. She refused to attend the funeral of her mother Lilian in 2002. She refused to attend the funeral of her brother Alexandre in 2009. In a 2007 interview, she said, "Abolishing the monarchy might prove to be of benefit to Belgium." She published a memoir titled De Bruk, The Fracture, in 2004. Today, at 75, she lives as a virtual recluse in a wooden chalet in Sequim, Washington, a town of roughly 8,000 people on the Olympic Peninsula. In March 2026, after 19 years of complete silence, she sent a handwritten letter to the French weekly Point de Vue. Her sister Esmeralda does not have her contact details. "She has a different view of things," Esmeralda has said. "It's sad, but it's her decision." Princess Marie Esmeralda was born on the 30th of September 1956 at the Palace of Laeken. She was named Esmeralda after her father's favourite place in Venezuela. She studied law at the Université Saint-Louis in Brussels and journalism at the Université Catholique de Louvain. She spent 15 years in Paris as a freelance journalist, writing for publications, including Le Figaro. She published several books, including Leopold III, Mon Père, in 2001. She married Sir Salvador Moncada, a Honduran British pharmacologist knighted for his contributions to cardiovascular research. So on the 5th of April 1998 in London. They have two children, Alexandra Leopoldine, born the 4th of August 1998, and Leopoldo Daniel, born the 21st of May 2001. Esmeralda is an environmental activist. She serves as president of the King Leopold III Fund for Nature Exploration and Conservation and was arrested in London on the 10th of October 2019 during an Extinction Rebellion protest at Trafalgar Square. "The more people from all sections of society protest," she said, "the greater the impact will be." She lives in London. She maintains good relations with the Belgian royal family. She attended the 2025 announcement that the Château d'Argenteuil, the estate where she grew up with Leopold and Lillian, would be given to the Queen Elizabeth Music Chapel for at least 40 years. The chateau itself carried the family's fate in miniature. Leopold III and Lillian moved there after Baudouin married in 1960. They lived in it for the rest of their lives. Leopold devoted his final decades to entomology and tropical exploration, publishing scientific works on the Papuan rainforest. He died on the 25th of September 1983 at Woluwe-Saint-Lambert, aged 82. Lillian remained at Argenteuil alone, growing increasingly reclusive. She sold paintings from the royal collection to cover expenses. She died on the 7th of June 2002 at 85. Now, the children's request to turn the estate into a memorial was denied by the Belgian state. It was sold in 2004 for €7.8 million to a Belgian businessman named Jean-Marie Delwaert. Both Vladimir Putin and Muammar Gaddafi reportedly made offers. In 2025, the Perrier-Dieterin family acquired the property and made it available to the Queen Elizabeth Music Chapel for at least 40 years. The castle where Leopold and Lillian lived in isolation is now a school for young musicians. The dynasty's second controversial branch. One dead at 67, one vanished to the far corner of a continent. One who built a public life the family never sanctioned. 3 children of a wartime marriage the country never forgave, carrying titles the Constitution emptied of meaning. And while they were being forgotten, the dynasty was already creating a third branch it would spend the next half-century trying to deny. The summer of 1966. Athens. Prince Albert of Belgium, the future king, at this point 32 years old and the younger brother of King Baudouin, is sailing near the Greek coast when his boat develops engine trouble. He puts in at the Belgian embassy, where the ambassador's daughter is living. Her name is Sibylle de Celis Longchamps. She is 24, the daughter of a baron who has served Belgium as ambassador to the Netherlands, Italy, and the United States. She belongs to one of the oldest noble families in the country. Within 3 weeks, Albert declares his love. The affair lasted approximately 16 to 18 years, from 1966 to around 1982. During that time, Albert lived, as Sibylle would later describe it, almost permanently with her and their daughter on the Belgian coast. Sibylle has said that Delphine's conception was unplanned. I thought I could not have children because I had had an infection. We had not taken any precautions. She described Delphine as a love child. Albert and his wife Paula, they had married on the 2nd of July 1959, nearly divorced. Papers were drawn up. Sibylle refused to sign them. "I didn't want responsibility for destabilizing the crown," she said. Around 1982, Albert severed all contact with Sibylle and Delphine and reconciled with Paula. The break was total and unannounced. The child who had seen her father every day for 8 years did not see him again. Now Delphine learned the truth from her mother at 17. At 33, she tried to reach Albert by telephone. His response: "Never call me again. You are not my daughter." She grew up carrying the surname Boel, the legal daughter of Jonkheer Jacques Boel, head of the Usine Gustave Boel steel empire, a family whose fortune was estimated at 1.6 billion euros. But the name she carried was not the name she was. The story went public on the 19th of October 1999, when an unauthorized biography of Queen Paola obliquely referenced the half-sister. That Christmas, Albert delivered a televised address in which he referenced a crisis in his marriage some 30 years ago. The press understood. The public understood. The palace offered no further comment. In May 2005, Delphine gave her first television interview on France 3, publicly naming Albert as her father. In June 2013, she filed a court summons demanding DNA testing to establish paternity. Less than 1 month later, on the 3rd of July 2013, the 79-year-old Albert announced his abdication, citing health reasons. His son Philippe took the oath on the 21st of July. Albert's constitutional immunity, which had shielded him from civil lawsuits, vanished with his crown. The timing was never officially connected to Delphine's lawsuit. It was never credibly separated from it either. The legal battle consumed 7 years. In March 2017, a court rejected Delphine's paternity claim. In November 2018, the Brussels Court of Appeal reversed the decision and ordered Albert to undergo DNA testing. Albert refused. On the 16th of May 2019, the court imposed a fine of €5,000 per day for every day of non-compliance. On the 29th of May 2019, Albert submitted a DNA sample. The results confirm what Delphine had known since she was 17. On the 27th of January 2020, Albert's lawyer issued a statement. Scientific conclusions indicate that he is the biological father of Mrs. Delphine Boel, and King Albert has decided to put an end to this painful procedure in good conscience. Delphine's lawyer responded with a statement of his own. Her life has been a long nightmare because of this quest for identity. On the 1st of October 2020, the Brussels Court of Appeal granted Delphine the title Princess of Belgium with the style Royal Highness and the surname de Saxe-Coburg. Her 2 children, Josephine, born the 17th of October 2003, and Oscar, born the 28th of April 2008, received the same titles. Delphine was also granted the right to inherit 1/4 of Albert's estate upon his death, with court costs of approximately €3.4 million awarded in her favour. Because she was born out of wedlock, but neither Delphine nor her children are in the line of succession to the Belgian throne. On the 9th of October 2020, 8 days after the ruling, Delphine met King Philippe for the first time at the Palace of Laeken. On the 25th of October, she met Albert and Paula at the Château Belvédère. A joint statement was released afterward. It read, "A new chapter began, filled with emotions, appeasement, understanding, and also of hope. After the turmoil, suffering, and hurt, it is time for forgiveness, healing, and reconciliation. On the 21st of July, 2021, Delphine and her husband, James O'Hare, an American businessman she married in 2003, joined the royal family at the National Day military parade for the first time. She stood on the balcony. She wore the title she had spent 7 years in court to obtain. That November, she appeared on Belgium's Dancing with the Stars, finishing in 6th place. A 3-part documentary, Delphine, My Story, aired on VRT in January 2022 and was later acquired by HBO Max for international distribution. In a 2022 interview, she reflected on the years of silence. My art was my voice. I really couldn't speak for a long time. I went through anorexia. I nearly died of it. But thanks to my art, it really helped me to say things that I couldn't say. In July 2025, at the National Day celebrations, she wore a red-studded dress by the young Belgian designer Benjamin Voortmans and red heart-shaped sunglasses. In a podcast interview that month, and she spoke about her half-siblings, King Philippe, Princess Astrid, and Prince Laurent. They don't dislike me at all, but I think it's hard for them. Albert II is 91 years old. He lives at the Château Belvedere in the Lecken domain with Queen Paola, who is 88. He has undergone 6 skin cancer treatments over the past 11 years and reappeared publicly in 2025 with a visible scar running from his nose to his upper lip. King Philippe has tried to contact the estranged Marie-Christine through intermediaries. He has not succeeded. The heir apparent, Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Brabant, born the 25th of October 2001, is completing a master's degree in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. She graduated from Oxford with a degree in history and politics and had trained at the Royal Military Academy as a sub-lieutenant and speaks 4 languages. If she ascends, she will be Belgium's first Queen Regnant, made possible by a 1991 amendment introducing absolute primogeniture. 65% of Belgians find her natural in the role, compared to only 42% who said the same of her father at a similar age. The total cost of the Belgian monarchy to taxpayers is approximately €43.85 million annually. King Philippe's civil list is roughly €12.5 million. Albert II receives about €923,000 per year. Prince Laurent, Philippe's younger brother, sometimes called Belgium's cursed prince for controversies involving misused navy funds, unauthorised diplomatic visits, and an attempt to claim social security benefits on top of his royal allowance, receives €388,000 plus rent-free housing. The royal donation, Leopold II's creation, built on Congo wealth, maintains its portfolio of over €231 million without drawing on public funds. Roughly 25 to 30 living people hold the title Prince or Princess of Belgium. Among them, a woman who fought 7 years for the name, a woman in a wooden chalet in Washington who has not spoken to any of them in nearly 2 decades, and 2 children in Brussels, Josephine and Oscar de Saxe-Coburg, who carry a dynasty's oldest surname because a court ordered it. Delphine's art website now reads Delphine de Saxe-Coburg. The neon sculpture in her studio still says, "Fuck you, I exist." And she did not change the title after the court granted her the name. The name changed. The statement didn't need to.